Hello everybody and welcome back to the DenziBlitz here on the ECS network. It is sort of hard to believe, but the month of March is underway, and we kick off the month of March by bidding farewell to our Dinosaur Sentai. This is part 10 of 10, the last disc of Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. We wrapped this up this week. Of course, I'm your host, Mike, from Electric City Sentai Denzi Caster. I was rude there for a second. I'm sorry about that. Before we get into too much of it, of course, I say this every single time. This is not endorsed by Shout Factory, but we're going to plug their product anyway. Because if you are a Tokusatsu fan, you know as well as I do, getting this kind of stuff here stateside is rare indeed. There are only 4 sets officially released of Super Sentai from Shout Factory right now. We have all 4 of them here at DenziBlitz and on Denzi Caster, and we'll make it through the other 3 here sooner or later. Or at least as of the time we're recording this, there's only 3. Hopefully by the time it airs, maybe they will have told us about Car Ranger. Who knows? So, please do go check out Amazon, Walmart, Target, your favorite website for buying DVDs, Blu-rays, and the like, and pick up Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger and all the other Super Sentai products that have come out there, because if we want more, we got to get what they give us. So, putting that out there. This is the last disc, episodes 46 through 50. So we are looking at it. I have to do something I haven't done in a while here on the air, and that's actually pop a disc out of the case. We are looking at Presenting the Vicious Squadron, Break In, The Final Deciding Battle, The Sun from Darkness, The Gods Lost, and Long Live the Dinosaurs. I'll set disc 10. That's what the discs look like. We actually haven't shown these on the air, but there's your discs, in case you were curious what the disc art looked like. We'll set that down there off to the side for the time being. So, this episode might be slightly longer than normal because we're going to wrap up thoughts on the series as a whole as in part of this. These 5 episodes, in something that I find slightly peculiar, going into even the final 5 episodes, we still wind up with one filler episode, and that is Presenting the Vicious Squadron. That particular episode revolves around our heroes being impersonated by a monster called Dora Mirage. Dora Mirage impersonates our Red Ranger, Geki, the Tyranno Ranger, and Putties impersonate the rest. Now, Mighty Morphin did a couple of versions of this episode over the years. They did do one during their original 60-episode run, if I'm not overly mistaken. I don't remember Dora Mirage as a monster in Power Rangers, though. That costume looked new to me. So it could just be that I haven't seen the Power Rangers episode in a really long time, or it could be that that was a suit we never got. That happens from time to time. There are characters that appear in Zyuranger that have no Super Sentai equivalent, and the same is true in reverse, because after all, there is no Japanese version of Bulk and Skull, unless you count Tot Pat and Bookback, which we've discussed in earlier episodes. But that particular episode is a bog standard Super Sentai trope episode. Almost every Super Sentai series now for years upon years have had an episode where at some point our heroes are impersonated and made to look bad, and that's essentially what happens here. It shakes the confidence of our heroes. They're not sure why they're defending humanity if humanity is not willing to stand by them, and so on. And then it's the heart of a grandmother that makes them realize, oh wait, not everyone is so easily swayed, and so on. And they fight our imposter team and defeat them soundly. The remaining 4 episodes on the disc might as well be a movie, because it's one continuous story from here on out. Break In, The Final Deciding Battle, The Sun from Darkness, The Gods Lost, and Long Live the Dinosaurs. To give the gist of this, we finally get the origin of Queen Bandora. We are introduced to our final villainous recurring character, recurring as in recurring for 4 episodes. We are reintroduced to Great Satan, and we kill off the guardian beasts again. We also bring them back again. Um, so the gist of what we discover over these episodes, because we also have the return of the dinosaur eggs, which I'll be perfectly honest, I thought we had seen the last of. When King Brachion takes them into himself to incubate them, I figured, okay, we're done with them. That's it. That's the last we're going to see of these eggs. But no, it turns out they're actually plot important for the overall plot. As I had said before, it felt as if the series had an A, B, and C plot, with the A plot being Queen Bandora's conquest of Earth and the Zyurangers fighting to stop her, the B plot being Barai, and the C plot being these dinosaur eggs, and that, plots A and B had, plots B and C rather, had been resolved by this point, and then we move on to resolving the main plot of the series. Well, these last 4 episodes actually bring all 3 plots together in a certain way, because we find out that the dinosaur eggs and the return of the dinosaurs, essentially, are part of what Queen Bandora wants to stop. So we're going to have to mangle this a little bit. Spoilers if you've never seen Zyuranger, but hopefully you figured that out by now watching this show. And hopefully you've been watching it along with us. That's sort of the goal of DenziBlitz. So, long story short, at one point, another tribe, the Dai tribe, all the different heroes come from different tribes. The Dai tribe's queen was Bandora. She was the queen of the tribe. And her son Kai is killed by a dinosaur. Now, we find out that Kai himself is a mischievous youth, because when we first see him, he's basically breaking open dinosaur eggs for no good reason and throwing them into a river, which obviously upset Mama Dinosaur. So, carrying on from that point, the dinosaur chases Kai straight off a cliff, and Kai dies in his mother's arms, and his mother being Queen Bandora. And in order to avenge the death of her son upon the dinosaurs, she sells her soul to the devil to become this tremendous witch of great power. And the basic gist from there on in is that for her, ultimate victory will be the extinction of the dinosaurs. And unless those eggs are destroyed, the dinosaurs aren't extinct. We also find out that the guardian beasts, these deities, are linked intrinsically to the dinosaurs. That if there are no dinosaurs, there are no guardian beasts, there are no Zyuranger powers. Because humanity in this show, when they coexisted with the dinosaurs, worshipped the dinosaurs as deities. And that is how the guardian beasts have gotten their powers, through the power of the dinosaurs and this relationship. So, essentially, if the dinosaurs die, then the guardian beasts die with them, and the Zyurangers lose their powers, leaving everything open for Queen Bandora to rule the world. So that is the gist of it. Great Satan is not yet done away with. He returns, this time bringing Kai with him. He has resurrected Kai as sort of a final weapon, to use a child against the Zyurangers, something that they have strove so hard to protect, which also leaves me, to be honest, and we'll get to when we get there, very conflicted about the end of the series, and the storytelling that was done. And through Satan, Great Satan, we also meet Dorotaros, which many people will recognize as Cyclopsis the Warzord, or Battlezord. I forget what term they used, in Mighty Morphin. In Mighty Morphin, this evil Megazord was piloted by Goldar. In this series, it is piloted by Kai, Bandora's son. And is an incredibly powerful and brutal thing. Initially, it needs 5 pilots, much like the Megazord presumably does, to work as efficiently and as properly as possible. And so Kai kidnaps 4 other kids, basically brainwashing them and making them the other pilots, therefore making the Rangers reluctant to attack because they will kill 4 innocent children if they do. Eventually, bad things happen. Pieces get hacked off of Zords. We think all the Zords are destroyed, only to find out that they haven't actually been destroyed. Bandora has sealed them away in this mystic realm, which our heroes are going to have to go get them out of, essentially. So we wind up with the dinosaur plot, the Dinosaur Egg plot being wrapped back into the central plot, and then we have, as the Zyurangers realize that they can't transform, they've lost the guardian beasts, the dinosaurs are dead, they are led to believe all of these things, that when we get there, then Barai shows back up in the form of a ghost, and Spirit Barai tells them, don't lose faith, don't lose hope. Your power comes from your teamwork. This is a very common Super Sentai trope message. And we go from there. And they rally together, powerless but still heroes, still warriors. We do get an unsuited roll call, which has become very commonplace in Super Sentai today, where you either get the civilian clothed roll call or you get the helmetless roll call. Even in Power Rangers, they've adopted that trope. Though in this, it's not them striking the poses as the Zyurangers, it's them as the heroes of these tribes from eons gone by, who, as the warriors of courage and hope and love and strength and justice, are going to rally together to save the day. Of course, they do that. And the fight scenes and such in these last episodes, they ramp it up. The effects are very good for a tokusatsu television show of the 1990s. So, it looks wonderful. The storytelling is good. I appreciated getting the origin of the bad guy, oddly enough. Getting Queen Bandora's origin and realizing that in reality, she is a very tragic character for this series. Bandora is a true villain. I draw a distinction between a bad guy and a villain, just as I draw a distinction between a good guy and a hero. And this is part of my personal outlook on it. A bad guy simply does bad things. So, for instance, in the context of this show, Bookbat and Top Pat are bad guys. They simply do bad things. Whereas Queen Bandora is actually a villain, because a villain is doing bad things, but presumably for the right reason. And in their mind, they are the hero of the story. If the villain ever truly believes that they are doing the wrong thing, they cease to be the villain. If they ever truly feel that they are acting in the wrong. And you see Bandora act with a conviction throughout the series and highly motivated. And now you know why. Because she is avenging the death of her son. This race of beings, these dinosaurs, caused the death of her child. Presumably her only child. And they have to pay for their crime. They have to pay for the death that they have brought upon her and her family. In many ways, it makes her quest to exterminate the dinosaurs not necessarily justified. She's killing a species for what one being did, but the act of vengeance, in this case, can feel justified to a point. So ultimately, she's fighting for the same thing the Zyurangers are. The Zyurangers are fighting for all life and all children. She's fighting for her child. And it becomes more apparent even towards the end of the series. So the series ends in a way that frankly left me puzzled as to what I thought of the show overall. I would not put Zyuranger in the upper echelon of my favorite Super Sentai. I can't. There is a nostalgia from watching it because I watched Mighty Morphin growing up. When Mighty Morphin hit the airwaves in 1993, I was 12 years old. So I was part of that target demographic. And so I have the nostalgia from that. But when I start looking at the other Super Sentai shows that I've seen personally, and I've seen at this stage of the game probably more of them than I haven't. I think I've watched every Super Sentai, at least in part or in whole, from Live Man forward, and then I've seen bits and pieces and chunks of anything that came before that. I can't put this one in the upper echelon. I'm not even sure I can put it in the upper half because of the mixed message at the end. The message that we have gotten throughout the series, Bandora hates children, and the Zyurangers are going to protect children. At the end of the day, the way that the Zyurangers save the world, which has been a similar situation before that leaves them conflicted, they kill a child. Effectively. That child is inside the cockpit of a giant evil robot, but there were 4 other children in that robot at one point too, and they knew that. And this is a child in that robot, and they know that. They've seen the child. It's not a monster. It's a kid imbued with evil powers, yes, but it's still a kid. And so effectively, to save the day, they kill a kid. The last scene we see of Bandora is her cradling her child, dying child, in her arms for the second time, crying, which apparently is how they beat her. When she cries, a witch sheds tears, she loses her powers. She cries over the body of her child, and then Daizujin imprisons her and all of her followers in not quite a space dumpster this time. It looks more like a vase, and ships them back off into space. And the Rangers celebrate. They did save the day. They saved the world, but they did it by doing the exact thing that the villain has been doing the entire show. So that's... And it's not like the show has not had the Rangers redeem people up to this point, because they have. They redeemed Barai. The only difference is Barai was an adult and their brother, Geki's brother specifically. Bandora's kid was not. He was Bandora's son. So it felt very awkward, even sitting and watching that at the end, with the heroes celebrating, as they should, saving the world, the defeat of Bandora and her army, without necessarily reflecting on what it took to do it. Because we've seen the Rangers put in positions throughout the series where the way to save the day, the most efficient, the quickest, the surest way to end whatever was going on at the moment, would involve either the death of an innocent, the death of a loved one, or the death of a child. And they're reluctant, and they don't. And they say, no, I'm going to stop this. I'm not going to do that. We'll find another way. It kind of strikes me as odd here that they did not perhaps find a way to redeem the child or Bandora at the end of the show. I kind of wish they had have. So that's the gist of the end of the show for me, is just that they didn't necessarily find a way to do what they had done the entire time. For the first time in the series, they look for the quickest, most efficient way to do it, which involves killing a kid. Bad kid, to be sure. Evil kid, yeah. But you could say the same about other characters they've tried to save throughout the series. So, and one of the last things we're left with, as the series ends, are farewell to Bandora and her crew, which, very odd that the majority of the recurring villain cast lived. Grifzor, Lami, Puri Puri-chan, Tot-Pat, Bookback, Bandora, they all get away. None of them get destroyed or killed. Only Great Satan and Great Satan gets destroyed, and Kai at the end. The rest of them are off doing whatever, and um, we actually do get a bit of redemption out of Bandora because Griff, Zora, and Lami have a child, and she's, don't you realize how much I hate babies? And then she's overcome with the child, and it's a beautiful thing, and she wants to hold it and nurture it. And so we get a slight bit of redemption out of Bandora at the end, and our Rangers go off to be with the Guardian Beasts in heaven, presumably should they ever be needed again. And they entrust a group of adolescent children, one of whom is recovering from a hospital trip, with 2 infant Tyrannosaurus Rexes. Not entirely certain I get the wisdom in that, but what you gonna do, right? So, the series as a whole, like I said, it's very nostalgic, which is a sense I get, and I think if you are a Power Rangers fan first, and you've never seen Super Sentai, and this is maybe going to be your first step in, it is a feeling that will hit you repeatedly as you watch them, where you sit there and say, I've seen this before, but no, you haven't, because this is a different story with different characters. There are series that will almost beat for beat follow their Japanese counterpart. As an example, Time Ranger and Time Force are very close to one another. Samurai and Shinkenger are actually very close to one another. Gal Ranger and Wild Force, and there are others. But this isn't one of them. These are not 5 teenagers with attitudes. So it's fun in that regard. I really enjoyed the series, to be perfectly honest, until this disc. This is the disc that dropped my enthusiasm for Zyuranger as a whole because of the finale, because of the ending. And that is one thing that I have found with tokusatsu shows as a whole. Some shows, and it's not just tokusatsu, this can happen with any series, or even a season of television. There was a season of Smallville, I recall, and I don't remember which season it is off the top of my head, but it's whichever one had Doomsday in it, so I think it's season 8 or 9. I really enjoyed the season and was really stoked with it, and then the finale came along, and I was like, what? Same thing here. I really enjoyed it. I was really stoked about it, and we've gotten through, 50 fun episodes, and the ending just kind of makes you sit there and scratch your head and go, that doesn't really work in my head. And that's where I'm left with Zyuranger. So, fun series. I do enjoy it. I do recommend it, especially if you were a Power Rangers fan, just if for no other reason than to see where Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comes from. It's this. And it's very different. Very cool series. And I'm not comparing it to Power Ranger shows when I say this. When it falls into the ladder, so to speak, of my favorite Super Sentai, it's not in the top. But it is still good and a lot of fun. So I must say that. I'll slide that one over here to this side of the shelf to signify that it is done. We may come, it may slide back over or something, I don't know, later. Our next series here on the DenziBlitz, we're not doing any of these here at the moment. Our next series here on the DenziBlitz is one that we promised you back when we were a Facebook exclusive series. The next thing we're going to check out here on the Blitz is Kamen Rider Decade. Kamen Rider Decade was the show that got me into Kamen Rider. I call it the Whitman sampler box of the Kamen Rider franchise because you get a taste of what all the other Heisei riders up to that point, so 9 other shows, were like without necessarily sitting through the whole show. And there are definitely differences between the riders as they appear in Decade and the way they appeared in their individual shows. They're alternate realities, but we'll explain all that as we go through and journey through the decade, as they say on that particular show, the catchphrase of Kamen Rider Decade. So we will join the Destroyer of Worlds and journey through the decade starting next week here on the DenziBlitz. Of course, folks, please share, like, subscribe, all the wonderful things you do here on the social media, on the internet. and here on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/DenziCaster. You'll see it come up after the flip. To let all of you guys know, today, same day this video drops, we are also dropping my article on the Essential Zyuranger. Basically, if you want to watch Zyuranger and get simply the story and not get the filler, and kind of skip the inconsequential episodes, it's my take on what episodes do you have to watch to truly get the story. So check that out. The Essential Zyuranger is over on our Facebook page, facebook.com/DenziCaster. It's up over there right now as we speak. And of course, please do go check out our Cafe Press store. It's cafepress.com/ECS network. You can find shirts and merchandise for DenziCaster, for Rage Quit Radio, the Announcers Booth, let me see here, probably a couple other shows by the time this airs. So go check it out and find some great stuff from all the shows here on the ECS network. Whatever you buy, that goes to help us here on the network get new camera, new lighting, new computer, new stuff to watch, you name it. It helps us in so many different ways. It does not line anybody's pockets. We don't get paid to do this. So keep that in mind, folks. You're helping out our network. If you enjoy the show, jump over there and grab yourself a nifty little t-shirt and help us out. So, until next time, a week from today, each and every Tuesday here on the ECS network, when we begin our journey through the decade. I'm Mike. Thank you for joining us on the DenziBlitz. Zyuranger is a wrap. See you next time.